Last week it was the Aaron Rodgers Achilles, and tonight it looks like it's the Nick Chubb knee. Prayers and thoughts, and hopefully you're okay, man. But we got another reason to do a first look, Tyson. You ready to take a look at week 3?
What a shit show. We're recording this on Monday night. What a shit show of games here, man. All the top-owned dudes are injured. Kenny Pickett just went to the locker room. Jamal Williams is out. Nick Chubb is out forever. This is going to be tough. Let's talk. Let's just move on mentally here. I'm ready to move on to week 3 mentally. Let's do this. What is up, guys? Welcome to the Edge DFS. My name is Tyson Smith, joined by Ellie Hernandez. All right. I don't even want to talk about this. Do you want to just... is this a vent session, or should we just get into this shit? Because this, wow, what the hell is going on tonight?
I mean, we got to say it, right? We've been saying it for a while. Like, even though we make Thursday night shows, like Thursday night football is a good reason why. I don't believe the league when they say they're worried about injuries and player safety. And then, they changed the rules. We were talking about it a little before the show. They change the rules every year. You have to change the way you tackle. Like, these dudes have been tackling the same way since they were kids.
Yeah. And
all of a sudden, now that they're adults, they have to undo 15 years of tackle practice.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to get fucked up.
Yeah. Dude, I know that getting more hitting time in is not necessarily the solution, but if you don't hit during the week, if you don't hit during training camp, that's why these dudes are like dying every time there's a big hit and a flag. These guys are like dead for the whole season. Anyways, let's move on, dude. Fuck this. All right. All right. So let's talk about week 3 here. So guess what? First game we're going to talk about, good old New Orleans Saints. Going into Green Bay, I don't have totals on this from DraftKings Sportsbook because obviously the game is going on right now. But it looks like this is relatively low scoring, 45.5 point total. Green Bay lost last week. New Orleans, who knows what's going to happen with them. But, we got to talk about Jamal Williams. I think we should just go through these games and talk about injuries as we go along, and then we'll do a catch-all injuries if we missed anything. But Jamal Williams, what was that? That was a hamstring injury. If he's out in the first quarter and misses this game on a short week, they got to play on Sunday. He's probably not playing this week. I mean, maybe we'll see. But Kendry Miller was out again. So who the hell actually is going to play? Is this a Tony Jones week? They gotta bring somebody in if Jamal Williams is out. I don't know what to do here. So that's something to think about as we're building. There's going to be an open hole here potentially for the Saints. You could get some value, but I don't know if this is necessarily a game we want to target. Green Bay didn't look too hot last week. They didn't look terrible, but Falcons came out and beat them. So what are you thinking about this game, man? I don't think we should even talk too much about it at this point until we have more injury news on Jamal Williams. We should probably just move on, right?
Yeah, man, I'm not really interested in it. Green Bay, Luke Musgrave is an interesting tight end target, but outside of that, probably don't have much interest.
And obviously Aaron Jones and Christian Watson are... Hopefully Christian Watson's back. He's missed 2 straight games. It doesn't seem like maybe Aaron Jones will play again, so another A.J. Dillon failure is coming at us. And keep an eye on Kendry Miller. If he plays, he's going to be the lead back. It's just going to happen. All right, so Houston at Jacksonville. So we saw how hot it damn was in Jacksonville. I'm about an hour and a half south of that. It gets so hot in that damn field. I went to one Jacksonville game on a Sunday at 1:05 or whatever, and it was terrible. It was like the worst experience ever. That was the Cardinals when they played last year. It was garbage because it's just so damn hot there. So something to consider. These teams who aren't really used to that. I mean, Houston, yeah, they're in a hot temperature area, but it's 125 degrees on the field. Jacksonville is going to be a good cash single entry type, stacks here. You got Trevor Lawrence, who should be able to come out and do well. That KC game was not great across the board for any of these guys, especially Jacksonville. But I think we have to target Jacksonville specifically in this game. But I mean, we saw CJ Stroud come out and throw for 384 yards. Nico Collins had a good game. Mahomes threw for over 300 yards. So is this Jacksonville defense susceptible to, a Texans offense that's probably just going to be putting up a bunch of garbage time points? I don't know. What do you think about this matchup?
I like this matchup. I think Jacksonville's a good core piece, like one of the core games you should be targeting just from a general roster construction standpoint. And then Houston for your deeper GPP targets. I think you can like Tank Dell. He had a touchdown, like 6 receptions. I mean, he did well on Sunday. And I think that they're only going to get more consistent in their offense. So Dell is like 3,600. Mechie, I think, is 3,200. They're still not being priced like they're going to be getting involved in the offense like they are.
Yeah, Bobby Trees, Dell, Nico Collins. Bobby Trees was on the field a lot. If you look over here, Christian Kirk, the first week, we saw him not be utilized as much as he should be. And this week, they definitely took advantage of him. Calvin Ridley had a down week, but he's gonna bounce back. I'm not worried about Calvin Ridley. To me, Calvin Ridley is considered to be playable every single week. All right, let's. And Zay Jones kind of sucked ass. Like there just wasn't a whole lot of offense to go around for Jacksonville in that game. We'll give them a pass. I think this week they come out and put some numbers up. This is going to be the game that everybody's going to be playing. Minnesota hosting the Chargers. There's going to be 0 defense played in this game. I'll tell you that much right now. 54 total, and it's a 1-point spread. So this is going to be the game that everybody targets for cash and for tournaments. I don't see a reason why you should avoid it. At least at minimum one-offs. But, we've got a lot of really big-name guys here. Obviously, Austin Eckler is going to be out. It looks like there's no timetable. I didn't pull up a tweet for it, but literally there's no timetable for him to return. So do I think that's 4 weeks? Probably not, but he's going to miss this game for sure. And Josh Kelly sucked dick, dude. Like, I posted a tweet in the Discord where games without Eckler, he's just not good. So when he's the lead guy, I'm kind of worried about him. We'll check his price here in a little bit, but I don't know that I'm too interested in him. But we're gonna have to target the pass game on both sides of the ball here. What are your thoughts here, man? Like, what's jumping out to you for this game? Just play the shit out of it, right? Tons of game stacks.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not very high on guys like Kelly or Madison, but I do think that they're worth taking looks at just as ways to get different in your exposure to this game. But look, man, if Josh Kelly is expected to be kind of chalky again, then I'm fine fading him. I just don't think that he's kind of put up what he's been expected to at this point. But again, Minnesota, they're 0-2 at this point. Like, I don't know, man. Like, they could also be looking to blow it up if they lose this, right? And trade Kirk Cousins to the Jets if they're feeling real froggy. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this one. I think it's a fun one to stack. You got to get everything that you can. When we build, I think we should kind of prioritize this game a little bit.
Yeah.
To see how difficult it is to build with what's probably going to be chalky Kirk Cousins, Keenan Allen, Justin Jefferson, core.
Yeah, definitely. Look, both of these teams are 0-2. Both teams have not played bad. Like, their offense has come out and played well. We saw on Thursday night the Vikings, they were outmatched by just a better team. That game felt weird, man. Like, it never felt like the Vikings had a shot in that game ever, even though the score was close. We were talking about it in the Discord. It was like, what is, the audience, the crowd there was just dead. The Vikings never had a chance in that game, even though they put up some decent numbers. And the Titans beating the Chargers, man, that's not a good look. So this is definitely the game of the week to target. But there's some other teams that we can be individually targeting here too. New England versus the Jets. Who gives a shit? I don't know that I'm interested really at all in this game. Not even really one-offs. Maybe the Jets defense. Anybody else? You're interested in Hunter Henry? Maybe. But I think this is probably a garbage game, and you see the total there. It's probably, 37? Yeah, I'm not touching this game. Maybe just focus on defenses there. Let's move on.
Defense, right? Maybe Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, maybe. All right, Miami here. So Miami is at home. This is going to be a hot-ass game. Going against Denver. consistently still one of the most disappointing teams. They got beat by the Commanders, even though they were leading that game for most of it. And we saw on Monday night the Dolphins beat the Patriots. Patriots are not a bad team. I think they're not a bad team. Their defense is pretty good. They had a shot to win that game. But anyways, I won't talk about the Patriots here. We're on Miami. But Miami is obviously incredible. And we talked about it a little bit in our show for Sunday Night Football, that it seems to me like if you can just find a way to shut down Tyreek Hill, it's not an easy thing to do. But if you're a good enough defensive mind that you could shut him down, you'll have a chance. I don't see it happening this week, but Denver's defense isn't terrible, even though they gave up 35 points against the Commanders. So I think you just target Miami here, right? I mean, what is that, a 27? It's hard to tell. This is Saber Sims, but they have a decent total. So you probably want to target them offensively, right?
Yeah, I like Miami. I think you got some decent run backs with Denver as well. This is a fun one to get a little bit of exposure to. 2-1, 3-1 even. Again, I think everybody's going to flock to the Minnesota LA game just kind of instinctively, but I think we're starting to see these teams kind of grow into themselves a little bit. Even with Miami, we saw more than Waddle and Tyreek Hill get targeted. The McDaniel even played Ezukanma or whatever his name is, right? With A-Chain being back.
Yeah.
And I thought that was notable ahead of Ahmed, right? Like,
he got
went
hurt.
With the Ezukanma, like,
Ahmed,
A-Chain was.
Go ahead, dude. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I was just to say, like, A-Chain really wasn't going to get any run there.
No.
Maybe it's because of his health, maybe because they want to ease him into stuff, but like, I think that's notable. And just what's going to be interesting is things might open up a whole hell of a lot, especially if Waddle doesn't pass concussion protocol.
Yeah.
He went into that today, so like that's really probably the biggest news at this point that we're waiting on, right?
Yeah, if Waddle's out, that's going to open up a lot of value in the Braxton Berrios, River Cray Craft. And also Ahmed. If Ahmed's out, he's the number 2 guy. That could open up the door for Devon A-Chain to get some decent run. I mean, Mostert looked great. Any running back that's plugged into this offense, I feel like has a chance to do well. Mostert's 31 years old. I know he's saying that he's a young 31 for a running back. Is he 31? I keep hearing people say that, and I'm like, he seems younger. Anyways, dude's fast as shit. But are they going to work him? Are they going to make him the workhorse? Are they going to give him 20 carries in this game? Maybe you see some more A-Chain, and then this Izukama, he's kind of playing this like Joker weird role where he's playing in the backfield, he's motioning out. So we got to focus on guys like that. Let's move on here. Bills, Commanders. 44.5 point total. The Bills looked better last week. Put up 38 points. Josh Allen looked like a real quarterback. So that's good. James Cook looked great. Gabriel Davis got some action there. And the Commanders, Brian Robinson looked good. And so, look, this is like a one-off type situation. I think you can get your Buffalo stacks, obviously. This is a 44.5 point total. I don't know, man. Is this an interesting game to you? Is this just kind of a one-off situation, or are you going Buffalo stacks potentially?
I think this is a great game to stack. To be honest with you, Washington's kind of sloppy, and it looks like they were getting a little bit of consistency with Eric Bieniemy in the offense last week. Teams like that with a bunch of high-powered offenses and potentially sloppy defenses, those tend to hit the over, and that might be anecdotal, but I'm sure there's some information to support that, and like you can game stack however you want, run back with Terry McLaurin, John Dotson, whatever, right? It doesn't bother me. You got Brian Robinson, even Antonio Gibson if you're getting crazy. But this is a fun one to stack up in GPPs. I'm not excited to tell you like what running back to play from the Bills, just because like James Cook had 120 yards, but no touchdowns, whereas Murray and Harris both had touchdowns. Yeah, so I don't know, man, but I still think you stick with the offense. Or the Allen and the wide receivers.
Yeah, and we've mentioned this all summer during best ball. We've talked about Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid being good options. They're both tight ends. I'm not, eager to put an additional tight end from the same team in the flex, I wouldn't do that. But don't be scared to play either one of these guys because I don't think they're negatively correlated. You'll see more Dawson Knox, but Kincaid is a guy that I think can break out one of these weeks. All right, so this is another big game. This is a 425 one. I'm going to go kind of opposite here. I'm going to start with the later games here. Chicago sucks ass. Apparently, like, I don't know what's going on with them. I was high on them for best ball. I had tons of Justin Fields. I had tons of DJ Moore, tons of their running game. Deontay Foreman, healthy scratch. You got Roshan Johnson and Khalil Herbert now. This is a shit show for the Bears. And their defense sucks ass too, man. So KC getting nearly a 30-point total here. Man, this team should, on paper, they looked better. You got Kelsey back. You got Sky Moore doing a little bit. You got a little bit of Tony action. MVS was on the field a lot. This is probably the way to go, potentially for your cash stuff, but also maybe because everybody's so overpriced on KC, maybe they won't be as high as owned as they should be. They're minus 800 on the money line.
Yeah, man. Casey's interesting because, like, I also think it's hard to. You have to guess. You have to guess right. They're coming in with all the wide receivers. They're not going to inactivate anybody. Yeah, I know. We're not seeing much out of the bottom tier. But the problem is if they get any time on the field with Pat Mahomes, like, they have an opportunity to score. But this is going to be I think this is going to be a good one to target. Even for GPPs, man, like, I still think you got some interesting run back options. I know Darnell Mooney was a little banged up coming into today, into Monday. So that's another thing to keep an eye on. If he's out, I think it opens up some interesting stuff. I don't think it opens up anything for Chase Claypool.
He did have a touchdown, but yeah.
Say that again?
I said he did have a touchdown, even though he was about this close to being, a healthy scratch. So I think he's back in play. But I'm not interested. Look, you're probably going to want to get a run back in this game with your KC stacks, most likely. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe you don't need it. Maybe you think that Chicago scores 10 points, potentially. But you've got guys like DJ Moore, who I still think can have a good season. Khalil Herbert. Those guys are in play, I feel like. And I don't know that there's going to be anybody playing this offense for the Bears. Probably shouldn't. I wouldn't do stacks, but you never know. You might be able to get a decent run back here because they're probably going to be super cheap. Anything else to talk about? You want to go to our shitty-ass Cardinals?
Yep, we're good.
So, look, actually, to be honest, the Cardinals have looked pretty good this year, considering that they have a quarterback that show up to be the starting dude that they traded for, a week before the season started. He's looked okay, but they're going up against the Dallas defense. This should be an absolute ass whooping. But we thought that for the last 2 weeks. We thought the Giants would come out and crush. They eventually did beat the Cardinals in a huge comeback. And we thought that Washington would come out and absolutely annihilate, and they didn't. So is there any chance that the Cardinals maybe put up a little bit of points here against Dallas? If you're stacking Dallas, what about a James Conner run back? I mean, the dude's going to be on the field almost every play.
Yeah, sure. I think there's a chance, but this Dallas defense isn't Washington or New York. Both those teams aren't very good, and apparently New York's really bad. So this is a game I'm probably take whatever you want from Dallas, but if Tony Pollard should probably be on your radar pretty massively, and then the Dallas defense that's my primary target for this game. That stack.
Yeah, one thing to talk about here when it comes to Dallas and their backups. Well, obviously Brandon Cooks, I think, he probably still going to be out. He's going to be out a couple weeks. But look at that, Jalen Tolbert, 68% of the snaps, Gallup 72, CD 72. But behind Pollard, you have an interesting situation. A guy like Cavante Turpin has been getting some more run, as that, he's motioning into the backfield. He's getting some more run in the backfield. I don't know that I'm super interested in him on a main slate if I'm doing Showdown maybe. But the backups here, it's very diluted. Rico Dowdle, Turpin, Vaughn, they're all kind of splitting that secondary running back setup. I think you just stick with Pollard. We're getting into our Showdown mind frame here, talking about backup running backs. But in this game, you're right, dude. Tony Pollard's probably the way to go. But don't you have to consider getting some Marquise Brown, maybe some Zach Ertz? Zach Ertz is priced at $3,500, I believe. He's getting targeted quite a bit. He's on the field quite a bit. Even like a Michael Wilson or something. Like, thoughts on run backs on this game?
Yeah, I think he can. I just don't think it's wise. I think the Cardinals have overperformed the first 2 weeks of the season. If anything, like I just think it's like it's just been a kind of a blatant form of tanking. It's like Jonathan Gannon saying, I know we could win some of these games, but we're not going to. So I really think they're going to get fucked up, man. Like, this is not a game I'm looking forward to.
All right, let's move on here. So Carolina's playing now. I don't really have totals, but they're going against Seattle. I don't know, dude. Seattle, like, they looked terrible to start the year against the Rams. They looked better, obviously, last week against the Lions, getting that win in overtime. Geno Smith came back and threw for over 300 yards. Lockett looked good. Thoughts on this game here, man? Where are we going with this? Like, Jackson Smith and Jigba is getting on the field 56% of the time. Kenneth Walker looked pretty good. DK Metcalf looked good. I'm surprised to see that Zach Charbonnet's only got 26% of the snaps. Wow, that's interesting. This game probably, I mean, Seattle can come out and absolutely crush. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know, man. What do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not going to get much exposure to. I think there's guys that you can take in one-off. So Carolina got Hayden Hurst, tight end position. Miles Sanders is probably fine. If you think that for whatever reason one of the wide receivers get there, that's fine too. But I don't think you need to. But Seattle, like, you can always play Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett, I think we talked about this in best ball, but like, he's just one of those guys that everyone's like, oh no, he's not going to get a full run. He's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, right? Like, I think people have this thing in their heads about him, but every year he's going to end up being wide receiver 11, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What do you have? 2 touchdowns last week? Like, the dude, or yesterday, my bad. Yeah, like, the dude is going to get there. You should play him. Like, if you think Derek Carr and that offense has a chance against the Carolina Panthers to shred, like, I really think you should think the exact same thing about Seattle and Geno Smith, Metcalf, and Lockett. Oh, and then by the way, I do like Kenneth Walker. He's also a great play. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. Like, man, I mean, you're going to get offensive output from this group.
Randomly, Colby Parkinson looked pretty good. He got a couple decent targets. I bet you he's going to be like stone cold min on this slate. Maybe a random big tournament tight end you can look at. All right, so Atlanta Detroit. This is an interesting game. We know about Detroit. We know about their offensive prowess. We saw Goff almost set a record for attempts without an interception, and then he threw a pick. Of course, they kind of jinxed him on that one. This is a 45.5 point total. Atlanta's 2-0, dude. They look pretty good. Desmond Ridder has come out and managed the game. He's done what he's needed to do. Bijan Robinson has looked fucking good. And Drake London finally got on the board. He finally got a touchdown. We know about Detroit. Didn't Amon-Ra look a little beat up in that game? Didn't he leave for a little bit? But he came back, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, and so, but the big news here is David Montgomery. So, you know, I get this in our Discord. We get these automatic news updates. Dan Campbell, David Montgomery. This is at 2:16 p.m. David Montgomery considered day to day, and then a little bit later, Adam Schefter is like, nah, he's gonna be out a couple weeks. He's probably not playing. So, what does that mean? Is it unleash Jahmyr Gibbs week? He could be a decent. I think he's in. We'll have to look. Was he 5,600 or something like that, or he's in this low 6Ks? So he's not super low price, but man, he could absolutely eat if he's on the field for 60-70% of the snaps. So thoughts on this game?
Well, first of all, let's put that 5,600 into perspective. Like, that's assuming that the min price for a running back is actually 4,000. But you know, that might be the minimum DraftKings price. But like Jerome Ford, right, the guy who's going to end up probably getting a lot of Chubb's snaps, was already priced at 4,800.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, take that into account. Like, they're so worried about this shit. They had him, a guy who's going to get 5% on a good day with a healthy Chubb. Damn. He's only going to get 5% of the touches, right? Like, they have him priced. So like, I really like Jahmyr Gibbs. But like I think you can always take flyers on the Detroit offense and GPP, right? Like however you want to do it, it's a good offense to get exposure to. The purpose of having some of the players that they have on their team is for chunk explosive plays. Like David Montgomery is a good like cash kind of play. Like I feel like he's kind of a safe play. He might have those spike weeks, but like you play Jahmyr Gibbs for his tournament upside. So I think he's a great option. But also, like, don't forget about Amon-Ra St. Brown. Just because David Montgomery's out doesn't necessarily mean that they're just going to hand the ball off. They might actually target Amon-Ra St. Brown 25 times like they should. When I watch them target him, like, I don't want to spend too much time on the first look talking about this, but like when I watch them target him, like they get him the ball in creative ways, and he's just an exceptional route runner, man. He's such a clean receiver. Like he might be one of my favorite players to watch right now.
Yeah.
So like get him the ball, feed him, and then I think you'll be fine. This is a fun game to take flyers on. There's plenty of offensive talent across the board, both sides.
CJ Gardner-Johnson's out on IR right now, right?
Yeah. CJ Gardner-Johnson, he's out on IR. That was one of the big time additions the Lions had. So that's gonna, that could impact what they're gonna be able to do defensively. I think it might open up a little bit more for Atlanta. And Mac Hollins is another deeper guy that I think is probably gonna be pretty cheap. You can take flyers on. They're like liking him in that offense.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Cleveland. Hey, guess what? Tennessee going into Cleveland. R.I.P. Nick Chubb, man. That's brutal. That's some Willis McGahee shit right there. This is a 41.5 point total. This should not be a fun game to watch. But you got Derrick Henry. We've seen this Cleveland defense looked pretty good. I don't know, man. What are your thoughts on this game? Is there anybody you're targeting specifically? Because I'm probably not getting any stacks from this game. This is just too low of a total. Maybe you target defenses from both sides here, and maybe you get some Jerome Ford if he is the guy who's actually active. But even if he is the lead guy, I'm just not super interested in him because, like you said, he's not that low priced. He's kind of low priced, but I don't trust him yet. Thoughts?
Yeah, probably don't want to take fire like that against the Titans defense anyways. It's not a good debut for a guy taking over for Nick Chubb, right? Outside of that, man, like this game probably isn't going to be one that I'm too interested in targeting. Yeah, I mean, you can look at it from a defensive perspective, but outside of that, I mean, maybe keep an eye on DeAndre Hopkins throughout the week. Sometimes, just him being who he is, he can end up questionable and maybe miss a game. If that happens, I think Traylon Burks obviously becomes a massive play. And then Nick Akina, he's been getting more involved in the offense. So, I think there's some options, but there's just better plays in this slate.
Traylon Burks had that beautiful catch that he, almost scored on. He got hurt in training camp. His stock went way down in best ball. I still think he has opportunity to break out this season. And Tannehill does not look bad this year. He's not looking great, but there's no reason to bench him or trade him to the Jets or any of that BS talk. All right, so this is an interesting game here. So Baltimore at home against Indy. We know that Indy can't stop anybody. Lamar Jackson, they did get the win last week. They shut down the Bengals again. Joe Burrow, that's a shit show. He might be out. This is an interesting game to target here from the Baltimore side, and then maybe getting some run backs here with some of these dudes. Zach Moss is the guy now. He got most of the snaps, but we have to keep an eye on Anthony Richardson. So he left that game. He's gotten hurt in basically both games this year. It's not looking good for him. So I don't know if he's going to play this game. If he's out, I'm probably not touching any of the offense here. But MPJ is always an interesting spot. In an interesting spot, Zach Moss. And what do you think about the run game here? Justice Hill for Baltimore, or is it the Gus bus? What do you think, man?
I think other guys in play. I think they're getting pretty even splits. Justice Hill led a little bit on Sunday, but Gus Edwards ended up with a touchdown. I honestly think that this, as the season progresses and they get a little bit more comfortable, we're just going to see a lot more offense coming through the air. So I still think you lean towards Lamar and then his pass catchers.
Are there any injuries we forgot about? Odell Beckham potentially.
Yeah, he was on injury status, but it doesn't look like that's going to impact his week to week play. So just keep an eye on it. Hop in the Discord if you guys need anything last minute. We'll obviously be chopping it up all week as injury news comes out.
All right, let's get to this breakdown. Break it down. All right, so we'll move through this pretty quick. We're just looking at some of the salaries here, some of the basic stuff here. So let's start with quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, 8,300. Josh Allen, 8,100. Lamar Jackson, 7,700. Tua's at 7K. That's kind of interesting. Kirk Cousins at 6,900. You know, that game should go off. Let's see. Where's the Chargers? Did I pass him? Did I pass Herbert? Yeah, he's at 7,500. Yeah. And for some reason, Justin Fields is priced up to 7,100. Who's jumping out to you here? Any random low-owned dudes? I mean, Trevor Lawrence, 6,800. Is there any cheap-ass mofos that you're interested in?
Yeah, I mean, look, Geno Smith doesn't look too bad. He's projected for almost 20 looking at this early on, which, again, Carolina defense isn't terrible. So that's one I don't mind taking at 5,700. And then scroll up, look like Dak Prescott at 6,600. He's not a terrible option, I think, for GPPs.
Oh, yeah.
Again, Tony Pollard's probably going to be one of the chalkiest running back plays on the slate. So you can get just just a direct pivot and go Dak Prescott in the pass game. Outside of that, man, like, it's just your usual suspects. Like, I really think you got to build with as much Kirk Cousins and Justin Herbert as you can. I think you can sprinkle in a little Lamar Jackson if you're doing MME, right? I think you probably want, a handful of exposure to a couple of these guys, but one that I find really interesting is just Trevor Lawrence. Jacksonville and Houston, I think that's going to be a decent one to stack up. And 6,800, like, I think his price is pretty soft. Like, you can get a pretty decent amount of options with him at quarterback.
Yeah, some of these, 6,900, 6,800 for Trevor Lawrence and Kirk Cousins here. Those guys you're going to want to target those guys. Those savings are going to help you out a lot. But obviously, Patrick Mahomes, even though he's 8,300, I think you got to take a shot at him going against the dog shit Chicago defense. Running backs. So Eckler's going to be out. Tony Pollard's the most expensive dude. Nick Chubb, sorry, bro. You are gone. Bijan Robinson, 7,800. Aaron Jones is probably going to be out again. So we had tons of value this week. Last week, week 2. Jahmyr Gibbs, 6,600. Okay, so I was wrong. He's 6,600. But who else jumps out to you, man? Like, what do you think our value is going to be? Because Montgomery's out. Jahmyr Gibbs is in a good spot. He's 6,600. A.J. Dillon's going to get another shot, but I just think he kind of sucks. Miles Sanders is always interesting. Breece Hall, man, there's some drama there. I'm not touching him until we figure out what the hell's going on. I'm not touching anybody from the Jets offense. Maybe a random dude, but I'm not really super interested in any of these guys. Zach Moss at 5,500. He's going against Baltimore, but he's going to get most of the carries. And Josh Kelly at 5,400. I don't know that I could trust him again, man. I know you're supposed to have a short memory, but I just don't trust Josh Kelly, man. So who are you looking at here when it comes to value, and who are some of your studs that you're looking at?
I mean, some of the pricing is just a little bit weird. Like, when we're in this range here, like, scroll back up just a little bit for me here. You got Dameon Pierce at 5,200 and Gus Edwards at 5,300. Josh Kelly at 5,400, right? Like, I understand that they're all fairly similar positions, but I do think Dameon Pierce has a little bit more consistency in what we can expect from his output.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Like, if there was a week for me to be high on Josh Kelly, like, I think this would be it. I don't think that Minnesota is a great defensive team. If there was a time for Josh Kelly to kind of get back on track, this might be the game to do it. So he's a guy worth considering. But otherwise, like, I think you got to look back at your quarterbacks, right? Like, this is why you want to consider some of the mid-tier price, is so that you can kind of play some mid-tier guys here. Like, go back up to that 5,500 range with Zach Moss. Like, right above him, you have, Miami and Denver, Javonte Williams. Like, I don't mind getting him over Zach Moss in that situation at Baltimore, right? Like, the best way for Denver to be successful at Miami is for their run game to keep the ball out of Tyreek and Jalen Waddle's hands, right? So, like, I do think that there's some options to play in this area over here. Now, again, this is assuming that we don't get any other news. If Jamal Williams is out, like, we could see some crazy shit where Kareem Hunt gets signed over the week because they were almost done with the deal, right?
Yeah.
So, like, that's something to consider. And then right there, that guy, Roshan Johnson, like, we really don't know what's going to happen in Chicago. Maybe they give him the start Sunday over Khalil Herbert to try and shake things up. I have no idea. So that's a guy I wouldn't mind looking at in deeper GPPs.
Yeah, and like I said, keep an eye on Ahmed being out. Maybe we get some A-Chain. We talked about it in that Sunday night show. We were a little higher on him to start, and once we kind of got news and I saw projections, I didn't play much A-Chain. I played more of Ahmed. But this week, maybe A-Chain's, maybe they're going to roll him out. Let the rookie cook. Do you hate anybody running back wise? Is there just somebody you're just not interested in? Look, we kind of buried the lead here. Travis Etienne is grading out as one of the best plays on the slate. You would have to limit him if you're using an optimizer and you're just click and go. He's going to be in like 100% of your lineups this early in the week. As things move along, we're going to see he's a little bit different. But going up against Houston, Etienne is in a great spot. He's probably a good cash play and a good tournament play. Is there anybody that you just don't like though?
No, but I don't think I've said it enough yet though. I do love Tony Pollard.
Yeah. Hey, well, let's keep saying it. Let's keep reminding people. All right, let's go to wide receivers. Justin Jefferson, 9,300. Tyreek Hill, 9K. And then there's a big drop off to Stephon Diggs. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown at 7,900. There's just so many damn options. I mean, Calvin Ridley, he's probably going to be a little bit lower owned this week because he didn't have the incredible week that he did week one. But Jalen Waddle is potentially out. If Jalen Waddle's out, I feel like Tyreek Hill is going to be one of these 30% owned wide receivers, even though he's expensive as hell. What else jumps out to you? You talked a little bit about St. Brown, but CeeDee Lamb going against the Cardinals, maybe he just kind of gets lost in the mix here, but that's a solid-ass play right there with CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised. Dallas is, they have a damn near 30-point total, and none of these guys are projected to get all that much ownership, right? There's obviously guys that might seem a little bit better, but I love CeeDee Lamb. That's a great one. Keenan Allen isn't priced correctly, right? Like, he just had another 2-touchdown performance. Calvin Ridley, I don't know why he's at 7,200. He needs to be closer to Keenan Allen and those guys. He's another guy that can break the slate. Chris Olave, same thing. DK Metcalf, Garrett Wilson, Jerry Jeudy. Jesus, dude. Like, I think all this tier is like just priced this way because any one of them can break the slate, maybe. I don't know. Like, I like this thing on wide receiver, so I think we're gonna have to find somewhere that we're gonna be willing to punt a little bit because, like, I want to pay for a lot of these guys. Well, okay, here. I mean, this is why I like Houston, man. Go down to Mechie, all the way down to 3,200. Like,
oh wow,
if we're looking at, yeah. Yeah, like if you were looking for somebody to play, like in this, like you got John Mechie. Like, he didn't have necessarily a great performance last week, but he started to get involved in the offense. Like, he's a guy like Tank Dell. He's a rookie. Tank Dell, he's up at 3,600. So, like, I do think there's still guys that we can consider in this range so that we can end up Jalen Tolbert. Yep. I mean, that'll get us up to, because I want Justin Jefferson, man. I want CeeDee Lamb if I'm not playing Tony Pollard, and I want Keenan Allen. Like, those are guys that I really want to be building with.
If we're looking at value here, just early in the week projections, Rondale Moore, Curtis Samuel, Elijah Moore, obviously Cooper did end up playing tonight. I don't know how he's done since we've started the show, but he only got targeted a couple times. We're starting to see we're seeing Dallas guys stick out. Shaheed again. Shaheed's 4,200. Michael Thomas is 5,300. There's some decent value here, and obviously DPJ. I'm not going to keep just naming off all these guys. We love everybody. Just play everybody. That's not where we're at right now. I'm not trying to come out and say that I hate anybody yet. Just simply early in this week, but there's some clear, obvious guys that are going to be chalk that we're going to have to focus on in some of these high total games. Tight end, Kelsey, 7,200. Hawkinson crushed, 6,500. Mark Andrews looks like he's coming back healthy. Besides that, man, any interest in a guy like Laporta who's getting involved more? Jake Ferguson scored a touchdown last week. I know that the Cardinals have a new regime, but hey, it is the Cardinals. You look at that on the schedule and you go, who's the tight end they're playing? And then you just play them. I still think that that's an option this week. And like I mentioned earlier, Zach Ertz at 3,500. Look at that projection. He's projected way higher than anybody around him, probably because there's just not a lot of options on that Cardinals offense. And Kincaid is 3,400, dude. So where are we going here with these tight ends early in the week? You have to assume that Kelsey, Hawkinson, Andrews, just these top end dudes are just going to be the cream of the crop, and they're probably going to be the higher owned. Anybody jump out to you on the low end, like a Hunter Henry or something?
Honestly, I think you get those three at the top and then scroll all the way down to that 3K range for me. And then I think this is kind of just where you plant your flag. You got Dawson Knox at 3,200. Kylan Granson, he has 2 touchdowns this year, 3,100. Adam Troutman, he's eventually going to get involved in the offense. If you want to go up, yeah, you got Durham Smythe there for Miami as well. Especially if Waddle's out, I think he might get a little bit more involved in the offense.
Yeah.
Scroll up slightly for me. Luke Musgrave, and then Dalton Kincaid. I think this is a fine range to get into. Zach Ertz is for sure interesting. I don't know how long that's going to stay. And to be quite frank, I'm not going to buy anything from the Cardinals this week against Dallas. Washington and New York, that's fine. You can tell me run back all day long. I think there's better ways to risk my money on Sunday than betting on the Cardinals. But yeah, man, I think that there's plenty of value here. I think you can kind of risk going with some of these guys in the 3,100 range or so.
Yeah, there's tons of value. Maybe you don't have to go with one of these top end tight ends, and you find value this week at the tight end position. Some of the guys that are grading out the best right now are Ertz. Okonkwo has not had a great year, but we know he can break out. He's 3,200. There's not a ton of options. And like you said, if there's any weird injury issues going on with Tennessee, we could see some more volume go to him. Troutman, who is the lead guy, is 3K. If this Denver offense can actually score, which they're going up against Miami, hey, maybe they can score. All right. Let's go to defense here. Let's sort by salary. So Cowboys, they're going to be chalk going up against the Cardinals. I don't necessarily think that I'm never a proponent of just going heavy on defenses. I usually just spread myself out, maybe max them out at 20%, even for the chalky defenses. But 4,400 for a defense, I feel like it's not really worth it, right? I mean, there's some other defenses. I mean, look at this. Patriots, 3,500. I'd rather play them. Who are some other defenses that are sticking out to you here on the low end? Usually, if you're hand building, you're probably, one of the last pieces you're putting together is a defense, and you're usually trying to jam in a lower price defense to fit in your bigger, your wide receivers or whatever. What's jumping out to you, man?
I think the teams that I like the most probably going to be the Patriots, and then I honestly like the Jets on the other side too. Jets have a pretty solid offense, and I don't know, man. Bill Belichick hates the Jets, so I think you're fine betting on the Jets defense there, or not the Jets defense, but the Patriots defense, and you can get both. I think an interesting one could be the Packers. You could even do Atlanta. That game could go either way. It could go over really easily, or it could just be a sloppy shit show where there's 2 defensive touchdowns for whatever team. Outside of that, man, look, Tennessee could be real interesting against the Browns, especially if we don't get And the Browns, their offense doesn't look good outside of Chubb. I think they have some issues that they do need to work on with Deshaun Watson. I still think it's a little overblown, but without Chubb, like your life's not going to get any easier. So that could easily be a 6-point offense next week.
All right, let's move on to our stacks. We're just going to show this on the Draftkings tab here. Let me switch this over. So let's build with some of these like top end stacks that we're talking about. You want to do like a Cousins, you want to do a Lawrence, you want to do a Mahomes, Dak Prescott. Who do you want to start with?
Yeah, let's start with we did Lawrence. I was talking about him, so let's start with him.
All right, let's put in Trevor Lawrence. We're probably, I mean, are you okay with getting ETN with him, or would you rather go with like Kirk and one of the other guys?
I'm actually fine with it. This is a good game to do that. So let's do ETN and Calvin Ridley.
All right, Ridley. So we have a decent amount of salary here. Do you want to get a run back? Do you want to get a Bobby Trees? Do you want to get like anybody like a Pierce? Anybody from Houston here? Or do you think it's necessary? Do you want to just like do a 1v1 stack in another high total game?
Let's do a 1v1. If we need to come back, then we'll run back with Tink Dow for some savings.
All right. Well, so let's do that then. Let's get another 1v1 stack. Do you want to do what do you think?
Let's go Keenan Allen and Jordan Addison. Well, let's do Justin Jefferson and see if we can afford it.
All right, let's do JJ.
I don't think we're gonna be able to.
And Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
It's 3K. All right. Let's move on to another stack. We'll build full lineups here in a second. But let's go Dallas, right? You want to go Dak?
Yeah.
Do you want to do a Pollard here too? Interest, or do you want to do two wide receivers?
Let's do James Conner, and then we can do a CD, I think.
Right. James
CD
Conner,
and Ferguson, to be honest with you.
CD. There he is. And Ferguson. All right, I like that. Get a little value going. All right, we got plenty of options here, but this is I like the James Conner run back because he's just going to get a ton of volume, like it's an insane amount. All right, let's do our lineup builds now. So let's do something we haven't done yet. Let's do a tournament build. Who do you want to target? Do you want to go like Lamar Jackson, Herbert here?
Yeah, let's go Justin Herbert, and then let's throw Tony Pollard in at one of our running back positions.
Okay, right off the bat. Who are we pairing Herbert with? This is a Mike Williams situation. We going Keenan Allen? You want to go like even crazier with one of these other guys? Like I'm obviously not touching Josh Kelly in this situation. We could fade him here, but where are we going? Like probably Keenan Allen right off the bat, right?
Yeah, I like Keenan Allen, and I mean, how expensive is Gerald Everett at tight end? Is he in the 4K still?
3,800, dude. That's crazy.
I'm willing. That's fine. Yeah.
All right, you want to go Justin Jefferson run back or who do you want? All right, we got some decent salary going here. So you want to find value at wide receiver, or
let's throw in the Titans defense.
All right.
Just that was at 3K and save some money there.
Yeah,
right
I like it. Okay, so ETN's in obviously a good spot. Is this a Jahmyr Gibbs situation? 6,600. We like him a lot. Walker, Mostert, Bijan Robinson. Oh no, that's Brian Robinson. 5,800.
Yeah.
ETN.
Yeah, we're gonna have to probably stay in that 5K range. You go down a little more.
Yeah, Zach Moss, Gus Bus, Herbert.
What about Javonte Williams?
All right, 5,500. So it's getting rough.
We're tight.
So instead of Justin Jefferson, do you want to go down?
Yeah, let's go Jordan Addison, or I mean, even KJ Osborne.
Let's go Addison, 5,500. That's going to make it a lot easier for us here. Wide receiver. We got a wide receiver and a flex spot. So for the flex, we're going to probably want to target somebody from one of these late games. We don't have anybody from KC. You want to go like Sky Moore or something?
Yeah, I like that. Let's go Sky Moore, and then what does that give us? 4,700.
Let's see where we're at in this last spot. Elijah Moore, Tank Bigsby, Lazard, no. Gibson. I mean, we could. Elijah Moore's not bad, but it's against our defense. Roshan Johnson. This is a weird area here. I don't know that I'm liking anybody. We'd have to leave a little bit of money on the table. Tony, Odell. Let's move off of somebody here. Who can we move off of?
Yeah, let's come off Pollard. Let's put in ETN.
All right, let's try that. Leaves us 5,800 in this last spot. Madison, Brian Robinson, Gabe Davis, Cooper if he's healthy, AJ Dillon. Probably want to target a pass catcher here, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Let me let's pick
Gabe Davis.
Let's pick Gabe Davis. Where the hell is he at? Gabe Davis, and then let's go Sky Moore in that flex spot here. Yeah, that's perfect salary. 0 left. All right. So what'd you learn, man? This is a first look. Like literally, like we've looked through the salaries a little bit. We've looked at some injuries. We looked at some games that we think are going to go off. It feels like we have some decent options, but what are you waiting on? Is there any news you're waiting on, or what are you thinking this week? Because the whole point of the show is, at least for me, is throughout the week I kind of know what to expect and I kind of know what teams are gonna be targeted. What are you expecting?
So I just want to take this time to clear it up. Like, I'm not gonna have like 90% Tank Dell and John Mechie coming into Sunday. Those are guys that I kind of use at placeholders in those price ranges, and I don't mind getting a little bit of exposure to in GPPs, right? Like Tank Dell did fine this past Sunday. John Mechie, he'll have his due coming up. But to kind of answer your question, it's a good way to kind of just have placeholders, right? We use those salaries to understand what kind of roster constructions we have if some of that news does open up, right? If Jalen Waddle's out, a guy like River Craycraft is going to be Tank Dell's price.
Yeah.
So that's the guy that we're going to be pivoting off of to use. It's like NBA. Sometimes the 3,600 guy is there just because that's who it is right now. When it opens up over the week, that's when you get to play him.
Thanks for bearing with us, guys. We're on major tilt from Monday Night Football. A little pessimistic overall, but hey, that's the life. Throw us a like on the way out, hit subscribe, help us out, and we will see you guys for Thursday Night Football.